everyone, this is Al. Today we're talking about Pokemon pre-releases, specifically pre-releases for our Mega Evolution set, our Mega Brave, Mega Symphonia set that's coming very soon because pre-releases are starting really soon. Now, although I want to briefly go for what a pre-release in Pokemon is, very briefly in the beginning for anybody new to the game and stuff, but then we're going to look specifically at what to prep for, what might you expect at a Mega Brave, Mega Symphonia pre-release that's starting on like Friday, well, technically Saturday. The first things are gonna be, stores are able to go ahead and host pre-releases starting Friday, September 13th at like midnight. And so some stores have midnight releases. I have one that does locally, and I love going to the adults only midnight release. But then after that, there are like more normal times being held. And we do have our pre-release promos for this set. It's always exciting to see them, and we're gonna go through all the details. But like I said, if you are a veteran in the game, you can skip ahead a bit, but just very briefly, pre-releases in Pokemon, this is actually something that Japan doesn't have or do, really. This is just a, like, international Pokemon TCG thing, where you get a build and battle box. This box is what you purchase for, like, entry as well. You go there, and inside that box is going to be a promo 1 of 4 stamped cards with the set logo on them and alternate artwork on them, and then a 40 card deck you can use, including that, like, promo thing, and then you get 4 extra packs. And basically it's kind of a limited sealed tournament where you are building a 40 card deck, not the usual 60 cards, and you are going to put out 4 prize cards rather than 6, because we are only working with 40 prize decks, and you'll get more info if you go to the event and stuff. They are super casual events because it is only using cards from the set and stuff, and it's great for beginners or people getting into the game to learn the game because it is generally very casual. But some stores do have it as like a tournament type thing, to where, like, usually I would say if you go, you get your build and battle box thing, and then you can build your deck. You can use some cards from the packs you open as well of the new set to put towards your 40 card deck and stuff. And so then you would play like 3 rounds with other people, and then at the end, most stores just divvy out 3 extra packs for people for them to leave with, you know? And so it's really great. Some stores, though, like, don't have that guaranteed prizing, and it's kind of a tournament thing, and you can, like, get kind of sweaty with it, I guess. There was one I went to which had a lot of people, and I think we were going to do like 4 or 5 rounds, but after round 3, the computer or something like messed up or whatever, but me and another person were undefeated, and so we split the booster box prize, and so I got 18 packs from the pre-release, and I still kind of kick myself for this. I should have, like, passed out, you know, packs and stuff to the other players, because I don't know, for me, it feels bad to, like, have that sort of prizing with a pre-release, because it is kind of, in a sense, random stuff. You get, like, you're just working with what you get, and it's a fun event. But I think those events are kind of outliers, and really they are just casual and fun for the most part, so don't stress too much. And although we know the 4 pre-release promos for this set, we don't get to know the constructed deck and what's in it, but we can go ahead and speculate. And, you know, the 40 card decks are perfectly fine to play. Honestly, I usually just use that as a big main base for my play, and if I see some extra cards that might be nice to slot in, I'll slot them in. But, like, the 40 card constructed deck is pretty decent. It does just have some, like, lesser powerful supporters, like Nemona cards, or like some luminous energy maybe. You can switch around energies, and yeah, it's pretty fun though. So we're gonna go ahead and start off kicking it off with pre-release promos of what we're getting in the set, and these are actually really good. There's only one that I don't want to get stuck with personally, and it's not playable. Let's just go into it. So the first is Meganium. That's the one I want because I just love this art, and I really adore Meganium for the grass potential it brings to everything now with its ability. So, the Meganium in the set has Wild Growth. It says each basic energy card attached to your Pokemon provides 2 grass energy, and you can't apply more than one of this ability at a time. This is actually pretty decent. We might see play with this Meganium with Mega Venusaur. As for the pre-release, though, it is a stage 2, keep in mind, and I don't know if we would have rare candies included in a pre-constructed deck of it, you know, but you could potentially, and if not, though, it is a stage 2, and I think this is actually pretty good because there are some this is just a way to power up the grass Pokemon a bit more, or faster. It's like speed, I want to think, And so I think being able to use it could be a potential thing, but we're going to look at what grass Pokemon come in the set that you might have with it. Let's go ahead and move on, though, to the next one. Alakazam, okay? Okay, Alakazam. I want to build this funny Alakazam Kadabra deck that you saw if you saw my What's Going On in the Japanese Meta Right Now video, where we looked at some of the decks with the new cards happening in Japan and stuff, and there's like a really funny, quirky Alakazam Kadabra deck, I want to say, and it's kind of based on drawing cards, and the Alakazam is going to help with that as well. So we have some cool Alakazam artwork on this thing, and let's go ahead with the ability. This says, once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may use this ability, you draw 3 cards. Now this is going to be relying on drawing cards, and it's going to be relying on that to help with Powerful Hand. Powerful Hand says that you place 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each card in your hand. So you're going to be wanting to get cards in hand, and Alakazam is going to provide that. Kadabra is also going to provide that. Now, in your constructed deck, if you get this, I guarantee there's going to be Kadabra. This could actually be a pretty solid deck for the pre-release, just because there isn't a ton of, gusting options in pre-releases for bossing up a card or gusting in other ways. I know Hariyama is coming in the set, though, and that is a gust if you can get to that evolution. But, I think Psychic Draw, just having Kadabra and Alakazam in play and stuff, could be something. And, even though you can definitely put in Rulebox Pokemon into the deck, we're gonna see, people don't always do that because of the support we potentially might get or may not get in the deck that we have, or the packs that we get. But yeah, I'd keep an eye out on Alakazam. It's really quirky, I like it. Now, Lunatone's a pickup, a good one if you plan on playing Mega Lucario. This artwork, too, is really awesome. I think I prefer it. I will definitely have to pick this one up because I really like that artwork. But it has Lunar Cycle as the ability, and it says, once during your turn, if you have Solrock in play, you may discard a basic fighting energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. You draw 3 cards. Very similar. We're just drawing cards, again, just like Alakazam. You can't use it more than once per turn, the ability. But this is great. You do have to have Solrock in play, and I can almost guarantee the pre-release deck that you get with Lunatone will have Solrock. You don't have to worry about that. But this is going to be good. As for pre-release, though, draw engines are nice, and a draw engine involving just 2 basic Pokemon is nice, and yeah, I think that's a pretty solid one. And like I said, if you plan on playing Mega Lucario in the meta in the future or anything, or other fighting decks, I think this is a good pickup for being able to have a good draw support engine for fighting type decks and stuff. Alright, so yeah, I'm excited for Lunatone as well. And then now, but personally, I think the least appealing one for me is going to be Inteleon. I think it's still solid, but I just like the other ones a lot more. But it's cool artwork and stuff. But it has the attack, bring down for 1 water energy. It says, choose a Pokemon in play, yours or your opponent's, that has the least HP remaining, except for this Pokemon, and it's knocked out. Really interesting wording and stuff on the effect of this card. Really interesting effect in general as a one-hit KO if you meet the criteria of the effect. And so, I don't know how much this will be useful, because although it sounds really appealing to be able to have a kind of one-hit KO option, especially against big Pokemon, if you are against big Pokemon, I don't know how easily it's going to be to actually accumulate the damage on them to make them have the least, And so it's something to watch out for. I don't know about this one. It seems like a wild bag, but there it is. And so it does also have the other attack, though, Water Shot for 110 damage, that says you discard an energy as well from this Pokemon. So that's Inteleon for ya. Alright, let's go ahead and start looking at some of the cards in the set that you might want to look out for. I'm going to look at PokemonProxies.com. It has a list of the upcoming cards with English translation, not the official ones, but they are essentially the cards we're getting and the effects. So let's go ahead and look at this for some standout cards. Thankfully, in the pre-release events, you can definitely use Rulebox Pokemon. You can use that stuff, and sometimes it can get you wins, of course, if you get them. But even if someone has an EX Pokemon or a Mega Pokemon, well, if you get Mega Pokemon and you're able to use them, that might be kind of scary because of the HP. They might be sticking around, and especially like Venusaur. Venusaur has so many fans behind it. I understand why. Jungle Dump does sound exciting, but what about the like non-EX ones, okay? What about like the little basics you might run into, like this Celebi? I kind of like this Celebi for its time travel ability because it is a basic Pokemon and it has it for 1 grass energy. Search your deck for up to 3 in any combination of grass Pokemon and stadium cards, reveal them and put them into your hand. I wonder what the Mega Meganium deck is going to include. It could include something like this, but I feel like sometimes they do not. And so, but if you pull Celebi from your packs, and this is the section we're talking about mostly, is like from the packs and stuff too, considering that, that is something. Just because it's a nice setup card, I would say. This is kind of like Call for Family. It's really nice. And if you get a good stadium card, like our grass stadium that's coming, that could be really, really helpful, especially if you have the Meganium, you know, that you're running already. So moving along, I would say that another kind of setup one with Call for Family, like we just said, is going to be Numel. If you have fire Pokemon, this could be helpful, but even if you don't have fire Pokemon, this doesn't apply to only fire. It says that Call for Family is a staple attack. It lets you search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Sometimes these setup attacks are really helpful, especially if you don't have the ball search and you can't find exactly what you're looking for immediately. And you probably will have enough search in your opening hands and turns, but I just want to point it out, of course. I'm curious about Tyrogue. Bam Bam Smash, flip a coin until you get tails. It does 30 more damage for each heads, for a free attack and free retreater. I don't know about that one. Yeah. Here is the Hariyama we talked about, how it's going to be a gusting effect with its ability, Sumo Catcher. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. So this is essentially like a boss's order when you evolve from Makuhita into Hariyama, and that could be relevant because, you know, I think it wouldn't be too hard to find maybe a Hariyama or also the Makuhita, and this is a powerful effect because we don't normally have gusting options in pre-releases, and the consistency in pre-releases in terms of like attackers and aces, if it's not someone from the constructed deck, then it might be hard to find. So it could be helpful to kind of gust something up and go after it. So that could be something if you manage to find, you know? And so let's also look at, here's our Lunatone Solrock, of course. And then I wonder about Marshadow. It is 2 fighting energy, but it is a basic, and I'm kind of curious. It does 60, but look at this effect. If your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. I only say this because, again, because of the gusting factor, because there's not always that much in the pre-release and stuff. And so if you have it, if you can get in the active, but it does take 2. Man, you can always power up with Aura Jab, but I don't know if you're going to be able to get Riolu and Mega Lucario, but I don't know. I'm just learning too, as well, as we go through this, and looking at what might be good or what might be not, you know? But ultimately, like, yeah, it's a fun event. Don't forget that. Man, the Mega Pokemon will be exciting, though. I like the Mega Pokemon as basics could be something, but again, you'd have to get that energy, and then I'm looking at Mega Absol right now with Doom Period. If your opponent's active has exactly 6 damage counters on it, that Pokemon's knocked out. I don't know if this is good at all, because I don't know how reliable getting 6 damage counters on the opponent's active is going to be. I don't think it's going to be very reliable, and so I wouldn't count on it. Cruel Claw for 3 energy. Your opponent reveals their hand, discard a card you find there. Also keep in mind that, of course, we only are working with 4 prize cards, and Mega Evolution Pokemon still give up 3. So if you ever want to run a Mega Evolution Pokemon, just remember that. They might go down, you know? Unless you have a huge beefy one, like Mega Venusaur is huge, but you might not see that, no. And cards like Steelix, like if you have exactly 6 prize cards remaining, this attack does 200 more damage. Never gonna happen in a pre-release. We aren't gonna have 6 prize cards ever. Ooh, one thing I would be curious to experiment with, or I'd be looking for, is gather evidence on Gumshoos for the Ninetales in the set. So gather evidence says that once during your turn you may use this ability, you switch a card from your hand with the top card on your deck, and this is support for our Ninetales with this shifty move where it lets you discard the top card. Let's see, let's read it. Suspicious shape shifting. So discard the top card of your deck. If that card is a supporter, use its effects as the effect of this attack. So you can just use multiple supporters and things. You can, yeah. I think it's a very funny meme deck. I want to build like a meme deck or something fun out of it someday. But as for a pre-release, I don't think you're gonna be able to get the Ninetales and the Gumshoes, but I will still point them out regardless. Then we get to item cards and stuff. This is really helpful. It can be. So Fighting Gong is really helpful for finding energy, finding basic fighting Pokemon. That could be something if you actually end up with a decent amount. I'm sure if you get a Lunatone package, you might have a Fighting Gong or so in the pre-constructed deck. But if you don't, maybe hopefully find a Fighting Gong. But it's not the only end of the world if you don't. I think that the Premium Pro Shake thing, Premium Power Pro Gatorade, it might be actually good if you are using fighting Pokemon. Because it says during this turn, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And that could be something relevant just to get the KO a bit easier. I know a lot of like basic Pokemon we're working with can just get knocked out by that. And you can stack your Premium Pros. I imagine this Premium Pro would come with your Lunatone deck if you get it, but even if you don't, like, that is something to keep an eye out for. Iron Defender, during your opponent's next turn, your Metal Pokemon take 30 less damage from your attacks from the other opponent. My gosh, I can't talk, I'm so sorry. I don't know, it's fine, maybe, yeah. So Lily's a card that's, like, gonna be really good in the meta, but, like, maybe here still. Basically, you shuffle your hand into your deck and then you draw 6, and that's all it's going to be in pre-release. If you have 6 prize cards remaining, draw 8 cards instead. That'll never happen in pre-release because we never have 6 cards. So be aware of that. But the ability to just shuffle your hand in and draw 6 cards is still a strong, solid, good, consistent ability effect in a supporter, so that is something nice. So Lily is still nice. I really like Lieutenant Surge's deal. It's very funny. This might be the only time you have to play this card. Maybe for me, too, because it's quite funny. Not quite competitive, but ask your opponent, first off, can we just say, we're already off to an interesting start. Ask your opponent if they agree to have each player take a prize card. If your opponent agrees, each take a prize card. If they don't, you draw 4 cards. This is a meme. It's really funny. I like it. I mean, do you want to go down to 3, 2, 1? Yeah, we'll see. It could just be for fun. It's whatever. Lieutenant Surge is very funny. Man, I really hope, though, I get his SIR, I believe, of him. Oh my gosh. The artwork is so funny. It's like very simple, very crude. I love it. Dangerous Ruins, I guess I should see. So whenever any player puts a basic in play except for Dark Pokemon onto the bench, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. Maybe this could be relevant if you're trying to get to 6 damage counters with Absol. If you get them together, if you have that sauce, if you can do it, that's solid, I think. But, you know, like I said, don't rely too much on. Let's go ahead and look here further. We already kind of talked about Meganium from the set. This Shuckle is cute. With Ferment Juice, I think there's also a Shuckle art card I really want to get from the set. Man, it's so cute. Anyway, once during your turn, if this Pokemon has any grass energy attached, you may use this ability. You heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon. Alright, I mean, it's just a little guy. It's just a little fun thing. I might slot it in for fun. Just for fun. But that is something that's coming in the set. I wonder about Kyogre with Riptide here. Riptide for 1 water energy. This deck does 20 for each water energy card in your discard pile. Then shuffle those cards into your deck. If you're able to get some discarded energy, maybe. But yeah, it is a basic and stuff. This Mantine's also a basic with Call for Family. I think that's still relevant. Something to keep note of. They'll let you put 2 basic Pokemon onto the bench. That could be something still. Ooh, the Chi-Yu with Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth for 1 fire energy. It says if the opponent has a Stadium card in play, discard it. If you discard a Stadium in this way, during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any Stadium cards from their hand. This could be relevant against grass decks, against your grass Meganium deck, against, those using the grass Stadium that they want to, like, rely on to evolve Pokemon quickly with. I think that Chi-Yu could be something, because, again, like, you're hitting for weakness on the grass Pokemon, so, yeah, keep an eye out for him. This Klotzer is interesting, with Reverse and Reload. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from the active spot to the bench, you may attach up to 2 basic water energy cards from your hand to this Pokemon. It's a stage 1 Pokemon. If you can get the stage 1, if you can get Clauncher maybe, but that's something interesting. Alright, looking at Raikou here, if you have at least 4 lightning energy in play, this attack does 90 more damage. I wonder. That could be, he is a basic that you could just kind of go for. I wonder about Tingly Incisors too with Pachirisu. This little guy, during your opponent's next turn, whenever your opponent attaches an energy card from their hand to the defending Pokemon, put 8 damage counters on that Pokemon. Maybe this could be relevant in the pre-release. I mean, like I said, maybe not relevant in the actual meta, but in a limited sealed tournament kind of thing, or event, I could see it being useful. Here's that Alakazam and that Kadabra as well with the Psychic Draw abilities on them. Then we have our Ralts and stuff, our Mega Guardy and stuff. Shedinja's a fun meme one. Him and Ninjask are a funny meme one I want to try at some point, but maybe not here, because the Ninjask allows you to, like, switch into Shedinja. It has Fragile Shell, which says if this Pokemon's knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's EX, your opponent can't take any prizes for it. Very interesting effect, not really relevant at pre-release, because you're likely not going to have EX Pokemons too readily, like, here available at all, you know? So that is something, but there could be some. And if there are some, that could be really good, because again, not too much gusting effects. They would have to really get out of the active, move things around in order to knock out Shedinja. So depending on the circumstance, it could be nice, but you probably won't be seeing that many EX stuff. This Grumpig with Energy Step is interesting. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may look at the top 4 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like, and then shuffle the other cards back into the deck. Interesting. I don't know if we're getting this set up and doing, but it has an interesting effectability going on. Here is Xerneas is a basic that has Geogate for 1 Psychic. Search your deck for up to 3 basic Psychic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. That could be helpful in setting things up. And Bright Horns doing 120. You could still use Bright Horns as an attack, or you could still use Xerneas in the deck, so I think that could be something. I wonder if the Alakazam deck would come with a Xerneas. I don't know if it would, but if it does not, that is something to look out for, maybe. Let's look at Delibird here. So he has Fast Gift for 1 colorless. If you go first, you can use this attack during your first turn. Search your deck for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. I might actually put this in my deck if I get a Delibird, just because of the funness of it. And, you know, you don't usually have a lot of control over things and finding things that easily specifically, and so this could be something fun if you get lucky to have it, and then you get lucky to, like, start with it and get it into the active and all that. But yeah, you could try that. I might try that. Here we go. We got Baneri, we got Leaping Kick, Lopunny's cool. I like that artwork and stuff. And then I think we are just going down to, like, these staples now again. Alright, we have Suspicious Watch. Choose one of your evolved Psychic Pokemon and put any number of its evolution cards back into your hand to de-evolve it. I think this is, like... Wasn't this, like, Grumpig support a little bit? I don't know if we're going to be seeing too much of that. We have Mega Signal, my bad. Of course, only really needing to use that if you actually have Mega Evolution Pokemon, but you very well may not. So that is something. Acerola is Mischief. I actually wonder about this, because you only use it if your opponent has 2 or fewer prize cards remaining, and eventually they'll probably get there. But you choose one of your Pokemon in play during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage from and effects done to this Pokemon by attacks from your Pokemon's EX. Okay, sorry, so I take it back. I mean, this is pretty good, I would say, if you have your opponent attacking with an EX, but you may not. And so, it's not like a super reliable thing. But I could maybe consider that one. But Wally's Compassion, heal all damage from one of your Mega Evolution Pokemon EX. But again, how much Mega Evolution Pokemon EXs are you gonna have that's, like, viable in the deck? You know? So it's just kind of a circumstantial thing, I want to say. And then we reach the powerful Vitality Forest for Grass Pokemon and Grass decks. Each player's Grass Pokemon may evolve into a Grass Pokemon on the turn they were played. Really incredible stuff. I imagine the Meganium promo, like, deck, 40-card deck would come with this, but... there's a chance maybe it won't, but this is going to be really good. And if so, I think, like, the Meganium one's looking really nice, you know? Surfing Beach, once during each player's turn, that player may switch their active water Pokemon with one of their bench water Pokemon. Again, this just relies on your water Pokemon. Maybe it would be something that would come with the Inteleon deck that you can plan around and stuff, and that could be relevant. I think switching around with Klotzer Claw thing could be something, but yeah, that's cool. And then Mystery Garden is going to be once during each player's turn, that player may discard one energy card from their hand to draw cards until they have as many cards in hand as they have psychic Pokemon in play. So if you are able to get this at all, I wonder if the I wonder if the Alakazam deck would come with something like this. That would be really good support for it, and so that is something. So like I said, this video would be, we can't really gauge too much on what the best deck might be out of the box, just because, again, we don't have data on what the constructed decks are going to be, but hopefully this gave an idea for what cards you might see in your 4 packs and what cards you could potentially slot in your 40 card deck. And I hope this was a good overview as well on pre-releases. I think pre-releases are very fun, like I said, and they're very casual and really good for you to get into if you are starting the game or just play casually and you just want to like go to an event or something. It's really fun because everybody gets to play with the same new cards, and it's just exciting to get the cards early and stuff. Outside of pre-releases, I think the set is still due to release, at least in North America, September 26th, I believe. And so yeah, it's really cool. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I hope to see you next time. Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.